gonna do what?
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to yet another episode of the Protect Our Queens podcast presented by the Give Us a Shot Network. Once again, with me, as always, my brother in Christ, my partner in women's basketball crime, Martin Sories, my guy. How are we feeling tonight?
Good to be back, man. Good to be back. Good to be back. Feeling very, very tired. What they tell you about hooping after the age of 30 is 100% true. It's a totally different process. It's just not the same as far as how you feel the day after. But you know, glory be to the Most High. We are still here, alive and kicking and breathing. Good to be here to talk some women's basketball on a Tuesday night. If you don't like women's basketball, this ain't the place for you. What's going on, man? Oh, and anyone who's watching live, much love. Anyone who's been supporting the Protect Our Queens podcast, much love to you. We definitely appreciate the love and support. Dwayne Marcus, what do we got? What are we talking about tonight? What do we got? There's a lot going on. There's a lot going
on. Dawn Staley, as a part of some Olympic coverage, was asked a question by Mike Tirico, and her answer ruffled some feathers and reignited the Caitlin Clark coalition, as I like to call them. We'll get into that tonight. Team USA defeated Japan in their opening game in Olympic competition. And Martin and I, normally when we bring together lists and rankings on the show, we do our own. But tonight we have combined, we've put our two brains together, and we have put together our mid-season All-WNBA first and second teams. And of course, we have to run down very quickly some other important news in this week in women's basketball, really the last 2 weeks in women's basketball since we missed an episode last week. So there's a lot to talk about, and there's not a lot of time to get into it. Martin, are you ready to jump into the show tonight?
Definitely, man. We're talking about Team USA too. Don't forget that. I don't know if I missed saying that or not, but yeah.
Let's do it.
Protect our queens.
No matter what it takes, we must protect our queen.
I mean, I just love playing the game. It's fun.
I'm reacting on what the defender does.
I hit them with a hezzy. After that, they quit.
Yeah, I think I've always just been able to get downhill, so I've sort of prided myself on that.
I know what I'm doing. Like, people can't tell me I'm not doing the right, like, I've been taught the right way.
Let's get into it. We have a couple of cool things from this week in women's basketball. First things first, Satou Sabally, for the first time this calendar year, is playing basketball. She is back. She dropped 17 points and 6 boards in Germany's win against who they play, Belgium, in their opening game in the Olympics. Rakia Jackson last week. Shout out to Miss Jackson. We talked a lot about her on the show. She signed with Skechers, and I believe she has a shoe on the way, and Paige Beckers. I saw this earlier today. She has a signature shoe coming out as well, and she's actually the first college athlete in history to have a signature shoe that is actually available for purchase to the public, which is nuts and is amazing and is absolutely dope. And then, of course, man, Unrivaled, bro. Like, Unrivaled has been slowly releasing their list of the inaugural 30 players. For those of you guys that don't know, Unrivaled is the new women's basketball league that tips off January 2025 in Miami, owned by Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier. And so far, the 10 players of the 30 that we know for sure are going to be participating, obviously, Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier. You got Chelsea Gray, Arike Gumbawale, Jewel Lloyd, Kelsey Plum, Ryan Howard, Kalia Copper, Jackie Young, and Angel Reese. One thing to keep in mind, all of the inaugural 30 players will actually get equity in the teams that they are broken up to player part of, which is a nice, cool tidbit as well. And I found out today, as I was doing some final research, that we're actually going to get a 1v1 tournament as well in February as a part of Unrivaled. And we're going to find out who the best 1v1 player in the world is. So, Martin, I know this is your thing. Just, you know, off the cuff, who do you think would be the best 1v1 player in the world in that tournament? Who you think so?
Man, we got to see. We'll see how the rest of the roster spots fill out. Yeah, that's going to be fun. That's going to be interesting. Out of the people they have so far, Enrique is going to be in there. Jewel Lloyd's going to be in there. I think Chelsea Gray might have something to say as well. Stewie would have something to say. So, yeah, that could get spicy. But they have a pretty dope team over there too at Unrivaled. If you see who they're working with, they got some pretty big time investors, and their internal team is pretty fire over there too. So, yeah, they're doing great work. That's going to be yet another league. But not to compare or anything, but going to be really interesting to see, because all the names you named, I mean, they're getting important names. These aren't just these are hitters, and these are major names. So even the 3-on-3 model is going to be that'll be interesting. But it's going to get more eyes to continue to be on women's basketball during that time. So it's definitely exciting. We have a lot of love for what's happening at Unrivaled for sure. So definitely look forward to seeing more.
We do. And we will be keeping track, and keeping you guys updated throughout the course of the inaugural Unrivaled season as well. Because as Martin said at the top of the show, if you don't like women's basketball, this is not the place for you. And that falls into that category. So Martin Stories, I told you that there were some comments that Dawn Staley made that ignited the CCC, as I call them belovingly with my friends. So let's toss it now to that clip of Dawn Staley, and let's get your reaction to that. So obviously that clip ignited a lot of fire under the group of people that thought that Caitlin should have been on the team in the beginning, obviously, because Dawn Staley said that she would have been in heavy consideration, ignoring the fact that Dawn acknowledged that based on how she was playing at the beginning of the season, she was not playing at the level that she's playing at right now. What do you make of Dawn's comments about reconsidering Caitlin Clark to be on the team, and just kind of this whole Caitlin Clark Olympic thing that has become a thing that really shouldn't be a thing? Really.
The group is the coalition. Keep driving that word. You gave them a name, so you gotta stick to it. The coalition. You make them sound like the NAACP, like they're an official group out here. I mean, Dawn has been Caitlin's, she's been a huge cheerleader for Caitlin. She's a huge advocate for her, and a huge fan of hers. And, she's been open about that. Hindsight is 2020. And I think she makes a good point that, even at the time, because it was what we talked about when we reacted to it, like people were making it seem like just on her popularity, that was enough. And she was playing like good enough to just put her on the team. But it was most of the arguments were based on her popularity. Yep. And I could understand that to an extent. But I just didn't think that was a strong enough reason to just like dangle her and throw her in there for the sake of thinking that more people are going to watch just because she's there. I think it's going to be more genuine and better for everyone, including her, who she said herself that she needed a break when she said she didn't want to shoot in the 3-point contest. So you think she wants to go to Paris for the Olympics? The girl actually wanted a break. So it's going to be better for everyone when the Team USA situation is built around her, like I said before, and not like a forced situation. But to Dawn's point, if she was playing a little better, she wasn't playing bad. It was just that, and look, the whole like, we send the best players. Like, I know that gets people a little confused and a little upset, thinking it's contradicting, because technically Diana Taurasi isn't one of the, like, she's not better than Enrique right now. So just by that, so like we know that that's a legacy pick. So it kind of contradicts in a way. So it's not just about that. Like, so I've never used that term personally to say we're sending the best players. It's not just about that. It's not always just about that. The 12 best players. Clearly we see that that's the case right now. Like Diana Taurasi she's a special case, but but yeah, like Sue Bird was a special case, I'm sure at times, but yeah, I still don't think it's a big deal. I think Dawn just spoke the absolute truth. Like, she would they'd probably reconsider her if it were now. They might create a loop, because I had said before, I know you like to remind people and bring up that Caitlin wasn't part of the trials and the practices that would qualify her. I said that they could make a special case for her if I'm sure they could work around that if they really wanted to. And I'm sure if that were the case, if they felt like they really needed her or that she really belonged there, that they would, that they would make that happen, and it'll be fine when it happens. And I still don't think it's that big of a deal that she's not there now.
I think the big thing for me is, and this all kind of stemmed from me being on Stuff About Sports last Tuesday from a clip I posted where I essentially mentioned the fact that Caitlin Clark needed a break. Like Caitlin Clark's first basketball game in the NCAA season was October 15th, I think. Her last game of the season was April 7th. She was drafted April 15th, and training camp started April 28th. Preseason started May 3rd. The season started May 15th. Martin, it's July 30th. This is the longest Caitlin Clark has gone without playing basketball since the end of her 2023 season to the beginning of the 2024 season. This is the longest she's gone without playing basketball. So my whole thing with the Caitlin Clark coalition has been, Caitlin Clark is popular and she's talented, but she's still a human being and she's not an object of our entertainment. And if anyone deserves a break from basketball, it would be her. She deserves to take a break. She deserves to step away. She deserves to have this time to collect herself. The other thing too is that a lot of people tell me that there were other rookies that made the team without participating in training camps and things. Do you happen to know the other 4 players in history that have made Olympic teams in their rookie year? Do you happen to know who those 4 players are?
One.
Yeah.
Stewie was one. Taurasi won.
Mm-hmm.
Sue Bird.
No, Sue Bird did not make it her rookie year.
Those are the only 2 I know. Feel like I know for sure.
So Stewie made it her rookie year, 2016. There's an article about it on ESPN 2016. The first words of it is that Stewie's taking a break from the season to participate in training camps. If you go on usabasketball.com, you scroll all the way down to Diana Taurasi's profile in the 2004 section, it outlines that she participated in like the exhibition tours that they had, right? The other 2 names you're forgetting are Candace Parker, which is kind of easily forgettable in 2008 because she was a reserve. She wasn't like a starter on the team. The other one, Rebecca Lobo. And Rebecca Lobo making the team in 96 is the one that's like my favorite because not only was she a rookie that made the team, she struggled in training camp. Like there were articles out in like 96 of how she was getting pulled from games because she was struggling. And she averaged like 6 points a game, I think, in trials, but it was only because they were beating the brakes off of all these other teams so bad that she was just getting like garbage time minutes. But I say all that to say, and to your point that you made when we first talked about this, Martin, like, yes, Caitlin Clark is super duper popular and her popularity is nothing like anything we've seen before. And so that certainly warrants an exception if there was one to be made. If Team USA felt that her play on the floor in the WNBA warranted that exception to be made. But again, to just completely usurp the way that things are done just because she's popular, I don't think would have been genuine. I don't think she would have appreciated that either. To that point, did you see the sign? I know you did. The sign that they had at the game the other day where there's a fan, a Japanese kid that said, you need Caitlin Clark. You need Caitlin Clark to be this. I thought that was funny. And I texted Martin and I said, yeah, Team USA by 50. Now, they won by 26. But still, that also goes to show there's a lot of people out there, even to your point, who we were at least talking about this, like people were going to go to the games that are Caitlin Clark fans that are going out there to hope that Team USA is losing these games so that they can say, this is why Caitlin Clark should have been on the team.
I mean, good for them. That means more people will be watching and will be thoroughly disappointed because the way things are looking. My God,
they're steamrolling.
More of the same. More of the same.
Yeah, man. What was your biggest takeaway? What's your biggest takeaway from that game? If you had if there's a couple that you had, what's the thing that stuck out the most?
Well, Asia Wilson is the best player in the world. We knew that, but like I love seeing it in Olympics. We get to really solidify it, in my opinion. That's when we really see who the best in the world is. Mm-hmm. And we know Stewie is number 2. Like I feel like Asia and Stewie separate us from everybody else, and then. I don't know. I guess, bro. I just think our IQ and the way we play it's just gonna we're just gonna beat people. I mean, our size is just too much for a team like Japan. Like we're just way too big for them. But I think in any scenario, we're just gonna beat teams with our IQ, with our versatility, with our shooting. I like the lineups with KP and Sabrina. I still think we have a little more to unlock with our roster, but yeah, I just think it's really cool to see. Like we have so much to work with, and we have so many looks, just like on the men's side. But I think my biggest takeaway is that Asia and Stewie just make us look different from everybody else. And I'll say this quickly about Stewie. She's really come, I don't want to say a long way, but I just think it's really cool that Stewie has established herself far from the identity of like some clunky, clumsy white girl with no bag, with no sauce. Like, and it's not even that she's super saucy. It's just that her movements are so sharp, are so efficient. She also just moves really well. Not to get too technical, but like her movement is just like, she just runs beautifully. Like a lot of her baskets just come from running. And then of course she's so tall in her length that she's so coordinated at her size. So it's just like, it's just too easy. But she's just so coordinated, so sharp. The spots she scores on the floor, her jump shot, like off her, like her elevation on her 2-foot jump shot, when she comes to like that 2-foot stop and she kind of gets up off the ground. Like I feel like she's become like a sneaky athlete. And we've talked about Stewie here as a scorer plenty of times, and just as a talent and a unicorn. But again, Asia and Stewie, the two of them, when we previewed Team USA and talked about them, I brought up how I wanted to see if we would go with the Stewie, Asia, BG front court like we did 4 years ago. BG's with the second unit. It looks like they're running her with KP and Sabrina in that lineup. And they started Nafisa, which was interesting because she still didn't even play as much in the end. But yeah, when I looked at it, and look, BG is still, again, Japan, just too small. Way too small for any lineup of ours, at guard, at big. They're literally just too small. Speaking of IQ, Chelsea Gray. I mean, my Lord, Chelsea Gray and Alyssa Thomas, bro, AT. I think we see that they, they're going to be utilizing her as a guard, as a playmaker too. So she's in that second unit as well. But yeah, I know that's more than one takeaway, but it's a lot to like. It's a lot to love.
There's a lot to like. I mean, Stewie and Asia, I think, were the only two players on the team that shot double-digit shot attempts. Like, they were the only two, and rightfully so. I think I saw someone in my TikTok comments was like, yeah, as they were like, and this team's going to be carried by Asia and Stewie, and I was like, yeah, they're the best two players on the team. Of course, of course. You don't look at Team USA and say, yeah, it's time for this. That team is unfortunately going to be carried by LeBron and KD. No, that makes perfect sense. They're the best two players on the team. Why wouldn't you want your best two players on the team to be the best two players on the team? The one thing I will say, and it was slightly surprising to me, and I don't know if it was because it's like the first game or what, we shot not that great from three.
Right. We only made 4 threes, and they made like 15, right?
Yeah. So that kind of took me back when you're talking about having Jewel and all the shoes you have on the team. But I'm going to chalk it up to.
I feel like the rebounding differential offset that though, because typically when you're, I mean, they made 15, we made 4. That's plus 33. When you're minus 33 from 3, you lose that game. Like you lose that game, and we blew them out. So when you look at the other things, it's like the rebounding differential. We were plus like 25 or 26 on the boards. Like so that is what offset that, because they just couldn't. They really couldn't stop us. But the 3-point, the 3-ball was a little interesting.
Yeah, I was like, geez, we got Stewie, we got Sabrina, we got Jewel, all these shooters. We only hit 4 threes. But you're right, though. I think, and that size, I think, really is something that's going to be a bit of an issue for like a lot of these different teams. I don't think like a team like Germany, for example, is going to have an issue because they have a little bit more size to them. But like, it was glaringly obvious that there was no match for Japan, like for Team USA against Japan, because they're all tiny. Like they're all tiny. I saw the picture on Twitter, like BG getting a board over like their center. Their center.
Without no jump, like without
jumping. No jump at all.
Just grabbed it and palmed it. Like, oh my god.
I was like, but I mean, I think the best thing about the Olympics and the best thing about this team is And I thought about this when you sent me that tweet of the person that tweeted talking about what if the Liberty lose to the Aces again, and then Stewie goes to Vegas. It's great because you get to see these players that you probably otherwise wouldn't see on the same team. On the same team, you get to see that chemistry. Like the ball movement that we saw throughout the course of this game was fluid. Probably the most fluid, the most clean ball movement I've ever seen in a basketball game in my life. Like, and again, this goes back to a conversation we had a while ago when we were reacting to comments about, people saying that women's basketball is not exciting. I don't know. Watching Team USA move the ball around the other day got me pretty excited because it was just so fluid and it was just seamless. Like there was a fast break. I think Sabrina brought it down. She kicked it to Asia. Asia kicked it to Stewie back to Asia for the and one. I'm like, gee, like that's beautiful basketball to me. That got me happy. Yeah. That got me pumped. Like, I don't know. That was just like, and then it makes you think like, man, like what if we could see Stewie on a team with Asia in the WNBA? Like what if we could see like Sabrina and Asia on the same team? Like it scratches that part of your brain where you get to kind of see these players that we know in like a couple weeks are going to go back to being fierce rivals and like going head up. But it's like we get this couple weeks where it's like, man, like I'd love to see some of these players on the same team together. But there's a lot to love. Like you said, there's a lot to love about this team and the way they played.
Yeah, well, to address that, and that tweet, since you feel like bringing it up, I think the Aces would have to crumble in order for that kind of move to happen. I don't think you get a Stewie after three-peating. I don't think that. I don't think it would go down like that. I think Vegas would have to crumble and have, Asia would have to start thinking about, okay, maybe I need like another superstar running mate. Maybe this group has run its course, maybe, but again, I think we're good where we are. I also don't. I mean, there's a lot to that. There's a lot of context to the person who tweeted that and people who think certain things about the Liberty, but we won't get into that.
That's fair.
But yeah, it's really interesting. We did only make 4 threes, but we still scored 100 points, and that's because we can still dominate inside. I love how you brought up the ball movement, the passing. Diana Taurasi, I think, had 2 points, but when you see some of those plays, she's part of that. She understands moving the ball. She's actually a better passer than people may even realize. She's a great pitch ahead passer, great field passer. She's going to make the extra pass. She's a great floor spacer, of course, we know, but she's going to move that ball too. So, no, the brand of basketball that we're playing is going to be unstoppable. If we make 4 threes and still score 100 points and blow you out, and you made 15 threes, that's a problem. And I think and we're going to shoot better. Like we're going to come back.
That was going to be my next question to you: is do you think they're going to have more shooting nights like this? Because it was tough. It was tough to watch.
I think it depends on look, Kalia Copper didn't get until the end. And I think they only put her in so everybody could score, because everybody ended up scoring once she made that last layup towards the end. So I don't know if they're really, because again, those minutes are going to Alyssa Thomas. I think it might depend on the matchup, who we're playing against, to see what kind of lineups they play. But their best we have players who can hit shots, of course. But our most dead-eye shooter is really Sabrina. Yeah. And we need her to be a playmaker as well. But we're gonna have a game where DT hits a couple, Sabrina will get off, KP hits a couple. We'll definitely have a game like that. But we can beat you either way. If we're going on both ends, outside and inside, it's really gonna be crazy.
I mean, you talk about going back to the ball movement part for just a second. I think Japan, their starters total had 10, 11 assists, something like that. Chelsea Gray had 13 by herself. The assists and the ball movement just nuts. But I want to ask you this about Cobb, because you mentioned how she didn't get in until basically end, and we see on the men's side how people were going nuts because Jason Tatum was a do not play coach's decision. Do you think that that's something that we should really be concerned about on the women's side, as far as if one of these players aren't playing just because of how talented this, there's a lot of people saying with all this talent in one place, that comes with it sometimes. Not everyone's going to be able to play, but I feel like in an instance like this, maybe I don't know, like what's your thoughts on that? Do you think do not plays are acceptable in this instance, or do you feel like if Ka doesn't play on Monday, are you upset that she doesn't play on Monday? I guess is what I'm asking.
I feel like you should play her. Like, I know, like, I mean, it's obvious Steve Kerr's gonna play Jason Tatum based on the things he's been saying about his own decision to not play him. So, like, even if it's for this, just for the sake of putting him in, like, yo, I see you, I acknowledge you, go in and do your thing. Like, even if it's just for that, like, it's gonna happen. So I think the same could and probably should happen with Ka. There are I talked about the guards with us. Like, our guard rotation is really interesting because you still have Jackie Young, you still have Jewel Lloyd, you still have different guard options to go to, but I think it should come down to the matchup. It should always be about the matchup. Sure. But the thing, we are so talented that there may be instances where it feels like, because you also have to go with, and listen, Steve Kerr has to stick to his guns a little bit, because I also heard him say before the first game in his pregame interview, I'm going with the lineups that are hot, and that's the right mentality. Go with the lineups that are doing well. So you should have that mentality, but you should also look down your bench, and if you see a moment or an opening, like get people in there so they can get into some kind of rhythm, especially a player like Kalia Copper. I mean, I think it'd be worth it to use, but again, it's about the matchup, I think, and you got to trust the coaches to like recognize moments where it's like time to go to certain people. And even quick on like the Steve Kerr thing, it's like, yo, I mean, it's like we won the game. Like we
didn't lose.
I could understand if people were upset if we lost, but like, we still won. Like, you don't care about Jason Tatum that much.
You don't care about Jason Tatum that much. That's a great point. There are two things I just wanted to mention, because between the sign that we had with the kid and then this reaction to the Dawn Staley clips, I kind of wanted to steal a page out of your book when you posted that reel a couple months ago, when you were like, now that we're at the beginning of the season, here's 3 things to keep in mind. I just want to, there's 2 quick things. 3 things I want to note real quick. Number 1, if Diana Taurasi sucks this entire Olympics, she's just bad. That is not an excuse for anyone to say, see, this is why Caitlin should have been on the team. I just want to make that crystal clear. If Team USA goes out here and slaps around every other country the rest of the way, and we bulldoze our way to a gold medal, which is more than likely to happen, that is not an excuse coming in the Olympics to say, see, this is why Caitlin should be on the team, because it wouldn't have really mattered anyway. And lastly, and certainly not least, most importantly, if for some reason Team USA should fall short and not win a gold medal or not medal at all, that is not an excuse for anyone to come out here out of the woodwork and say, see, this is why Caitlin Clark should have been on the team. I just wanted to say that tonight, because I'm starting to get a sense that we're like inching down that path ever so slightly, based on what I saw on Monday of how, let's be honest, how easy this game was for Team USA on Monday. So I just wanted to point out just very quickly, based on how DT played, based on how great Team USA did, and based on there's a very slim chance, because anything can happen, very slim chance that we don't medal. None of these are excuses to say this is why Caitlin Clark should have been on the team. I just wanted to throw that out there real quick before we move on.
Okay, well, I disagree before we move on. I disagree. If for some godforsaken reason we don't medal, first of all the games should be easy. Everything should go as planned. We should smack everybody, and it should be lovely. If we didn't medal, something would have to go so wrong.
Yeah, like Asia got hurt or something.
Even if Asia got hurt, we should be fine. That's my point. Something would have to go so we would have to crumble in the worst way. And if that were the scenario, I would be out here saying, yeah, it looks like y'all should have brought that girl over there, because clearly y'all weren't ready. Because that's been our only argument is the basketball. It's like we should all agree. We all agreed we don't need her basketball wise.
Yeah.
You're just trying to argue she's the best, she's one of the best players, whatever. Like, it's not a need. It's not a need. We all agree it's actually not a need. No. But
you're right. If we don't medal, no, you're right. If we don't medal, I would be.
If it got that bad, I'd be like, well, hold on now.
Wait a second.
Looks like y'all should have gone a different direction.
No, that's fair. If for some reason we don't medal, that's a great point. But I just wanted to say specifically, like, It's okay. She'll be there in 2028. All right. Let's get into some all WNBA teams. But before we do that, I do want to very quickly acknowledge something that Martin said about Kalia Copper when we last talked about the roster. So I'm going to kick it to that clip and then get into all WNBA teams.
I think Kalia Copper is going to be our Anthony Edwards on the women's side. I think she'll be because I was going to ask you who you think our X factor will be. And Ant is living up to his quote that they keep showing every game that he's not just an X factor. He's looking like our best player at times, which is crazy. But I do think Kalia Copper could have, I mean, it's her first time out. But I think, again, with all those different guards, who's going to be the spark and really find their way. I think her shooting and her athleticism is going to be tough. I don't think teams are going to know what hit them. I think she could be looking like how Anthony Edwards does on the men's side. All right, so hopefully they wise up and start using her earlier and more often. So my take can get some life there, because I was totally off on that so far. Yeah, totally off. But I'll say my new X factor is Alyssa Thomas. I'm liking how they're using her and her physicality and her playmaking. I think now I like how she's kind of like that glue person for us. I think her and Kelsey Plum's going to be my other X factor, because she's going to get hot a couple games and you still don't appreciate her the way you should. So
that's
she's
not
going to
true, bro.
continue the Dwayne Marcus respect me tour.
Where are you getting this?
She's going to have a couple big games in Paris. That's my last.
I love KP. Where are you getting?
All right, man. I'll pull the receipts now. Don't make me do it.
I don't not respect KP. I'm probably a little bit harder on KP than I should be, though. That's because I've been to games and watched her make me want to rip the very little hair I have out from watching her. They were here when they played the Mystics last year. I went to that game and I was so pissed at Kelsey Plum, the court, from start to finish. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe I'm too emotionally involved. Maybe that's what it is.
Against your Mystics, she averages 20 points a game for your favorite team. You should be.
I love her for that. I love her.
Yeah. All right, man. All right, Mr. Shot Selection.
We're not going to sit here and act like some of the things that she's pulling out there is not bonkers, bro. But I know, I get it. Not all shots are created equal. I got it. But
she's a scorer, man. You gotta live with it. You gotta live with. She's Manu. It's the Manu syndrome.
I got it. I'm just saying, man. Sometimes it's mildly infuriating when we're like,
I hear you.
When we need one and she just comes down the floor and just throws it up. Like, brother.
I hear you. Yeah. No.
All right.
Yeah.
You're right. I should be a little bit more loving. You're right. I should be. You're right. All right. So let's get into all WNBA teams. As I mentioned at the top of the show, normally Martin and I will come and I'd have my own all WNBA team. He'd have his own. We'd kind of sit down and we would kind of discuss. But we felt like it's be a great opportunity for us to kind of put one together. Also, because I feel, and I don't know if this is your thought process, but for me, I felt like at least for the first team, there are only really 6 names that could have been out of the 5. For me personally, I don't think there was anyone outside of the 6 that I had listed initially. We were kind of going through that could have made first team just based on who we're seeing playing so far. And then just from that, obviously, whoever doesn't make first team make second team, and that's which made second team straightforward. When we got to second team, I just kind of listed it off, and Martin was like, "Yeah, all right, let's rock out with it." So do keep in mind that traditionally all WBA teams are not position specific, right? Last season, they're all forwards was the first team. It was Asia, Stewie, Nafisa, Alyssa Thomas, and Satu Sabali. So all forwards, and we had 3 or 4 guards on the second team. For our Protect Our Queens all WBA team, we do have 2 guards, 3 forwards. Our guards are Sabrina Ionescu, Kalia Copper. Our forwards are Nafisa Collier, Brianna Stewart, and of course Asia Wilson. So essentially, the 5 players at the top of the MVP rankings right now. If you had to rank them, those would be the 5 that you would rank. Asia would be at the top, and you would fill in the other 4 in whatever order you'd want to fill them in. But that's the all WA first team for us. And then our second team, we have Arike, Jewel Lloyd, De'Erica Hamby, Jonquil Jones, and Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is on our second team. Is there any player that you were kind of thinking of, if we were kind of to do it on our own? Is there any player that you think maybe you could make an argument to kind of put into that second team at least? Because I think we both agree that the first team was it was really only like those 6. Like, is there anyone that you think you could see sneaking into that second team by the time
name the second team for me again?
We put out Caitlin, Arike, Jewel, De'Erica, and Jonquel.
Yeah. I could see NECA making an argument.
Mm-hmm. Do you think if Angel gets the doubles rolling again, she could make it on to second?
I think Angel would be able to make an argument. Yeah, I think Angel could make an argument.
Dejanay. There's some people that have Dejanay as their defensive player of the year this year. Do you think she's all
Dejanay would have an argument?
Yeah.
Yeah. So. I think Dejanay might have an argument in there, especially with her team winning.
Mm-hmm.
So no, she would definitely have an argument. I think if we had a third team, Dejanay would probably be on the
third team.
Yeah.
That's a great point. I'll be honest, before Jonquel's name kind of slapped me upside the head, I was about to, in our messages, put Ezzy on second team. Just for the defense alone, because she's been amongst the top. Like, I know at the beginning of the season I said very boldly that we can just go ahead and give the defensive player of the year to Asia just with no question. But Ezzy Magbagor though has been great on defense, just as I predicted she would be when it was announced that NECA was going there. And so I almost kind of put her there, but then I Jonquel Jones kind of slapped it to my brain. So that's another one where if there were an all-WNBA third team, Ezzy would be on third, I think. Just because offensively, she's not producing offensively the way that like a Jonquel Jones is, obviously. But I've been super impressed with like a Dejanay. I've been super impressed with Ezzy Magbagor. I think if Cameron Brink didn't get hurt with the ACL, I think she could have been second team or maybe third team if there was a third team that existed. And I'll be honest, bro, Rakia Jackson, with the way she's been playing lately, I know I've been like the conductor, like I've been the man at the front of the Rakia Jackson bandwagon this season. But like if Rakia Jackson keeps hooping the way she's been hooping, she might mess around and find herself on second team. Yeah, honestly, like she's been playing great, especially entering the All-Star break. I hope she's able to kind of bottle up whatever of that momentum and that fire she had going into break and take it with her post break. But yeah, bro, this is good. I mean, Caitlin making second team, I feel like has a rookie made first team before? I was trying to think about that because that was something I was struggling with as well with when we were putting through. Like I'm sure Candace Parker made MVP, so she was probably that would be the one. Which Candace Parker. If there's anyone that's gonna do it, it would have been her. But yeah, man, I'm just sitting there. I was like, yeah, bro, that's tough. But Ezzy was almost there for me, and then right before I sent the message, I was like, oh wait, no. Jonquel Jones is up there. Jonquel is up there. So let me back to this question, because generally, right, your all WNBA teams are all league anything generally the best 10 players in the league, right? And we've done top 10 rankings twice now. Both times Caitlin Clark was not in our top 10s. Obviously, not in the first one, rightfully so. Not in the one we did a couple weeks ago either. When you are assessing like who the top 10 players are as it stands today, are you solely basing that on how we've seen these players play from the beginning of the season to now? Or is that in conjunction with what we just expect from them generally? And if so, where would you put Caitlin Clark if we were ranking players tonight? How many players definitively are you putting ahead of Caitlin before you say her name?
No, I mean, to answer the first question, if I'm naming top 10 players, I guess I'm usually doing it by like right now, like based on how you're playing, right now this season. Sure. And I mean, right now, I think Caitlin is comfortably top 15. She might be top 10. And I'll tell you why. I think it's crazy because as we talk about and as is known, Vegas has 3 of the top guards, 3 of the top 10 players by most people's estimation in the league, and they're guards. Chelsea Gray, though, started the season hurt. So she's not it.
Right.
She's been working her way back. She's still Chelsea Gray, and she's the
Right.
engine and the motor. But from a stat standpoint, and from from an individual like dominant standpoint, you might go with the younger Caitlin,
Sure.
who's also a little more of a scorer. I think that, and not to make this a Vegas conversation, but I do think that the Aces three-peat, because we've talked about I know I've talked about it a ton, of course, me loving my guard play. What takes the Aces over the top is the guard play. And there's been so much focus on Asia and how historically great she is, and she has been. But sometimes when one starts to elevate even more, it's like if the others aren't going to that level too, it's like you forget, like you need, Jackie, Kelsey, and Chelsea, we're all, getting 20, 25, I mean, big time games consistently scoring the ball from the perimeter, which made them just impossible to stop. So that impossibility factor is something I don't think we've seen. Chelsea's injury to start the season. Jackie hasn't really been what she was last season. I think she's kind of, she hasn't been like as great, I think, especially shooting the ball. I don't think she's shooting the ball the way she was last year. And I don't think KP, I mean, KP is kind of like, she's kind of always going to be KP, but even with her, like, I don't think any of them are really like taking over games in ways, that like take the attention off of Asia. I think so much is on Asia, and I think she's feeling that. And so when you look at a three-peat, I think, and so going back to Caitlin, with some of the best guards, seemingly taking kind of a little step back for whatever reasons, that elevates Caitlin on the pecking order, on the totem pole,
Sure.
I think it's interesting, we saw in the All-Star game again, Enrique kind of outshine Caitlin in a way. Listen, it can be hard. We're getting to a point where there's so much talent, it's getting super subjective, based on what you want to look at. And I think, lastly, I think like the most interesting thing with Caitlin Clark right now is the fact that people are now getting on the passing bandwagon. Now people are loving, which something that I've talked about since I've been watching the girl for years, saying that, hey, I know I love the deep balls too and the logo threes, but guess what? She's a pretty special and impactful passer. Just the way she pushes the ball ahead. I've talked about it on here many times.
Yeah.
And now people are especially with the assist numbers going crazy. And now people love assists all of a sudden, are assist maniacs out here. But it's like, and it's cool because it's like showing more elements of what's special about her as a basketball player. It shows her IQ. The way she plays the game is very special, right? And it hasn't had to be, I'm glad for her, because it hasn't had to be like her being this illustrious scorer, her being the best player in the league, the best guard in the league, dominating the league right away, the way people thought that she might. And we told them that she wouldn't, as far as like dominating, like she'll be good, but she won't be dominant. And she's not, especially from a scoring standpoint. Just check the numbers. Like, I know the assist numbers are up. Anyone talking about the scoring numbers? Because Diana Taurasi was right. She don't look like she looked like at Iowa to me. I don't know if anyone else, if she does to anyone else. She looks like almost like a totally different player. She's a real point guard now. She's playing like real basketball. Like, it's awesome. I love it, and it's great. I hope the fans love it. But I mean, I think that's the most interesting thing. So it's like her IQ is really putting her in these positions to like go up and, be she's one of the top point guards. She's one of the top guards, top 10, 15 players, top 15, I would say comfortably. I don't know if I would give her 10, even though I talked about Jackie and Kelsey kind of step back. I'm still taking Kelsey Plum over Caitlin Clark today.
Yeah.
Me personally. I'm taking Jackie Young over Caitlin Clark. But the top 10, 15 area, she's there comfortably.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of like where I'm at. And again, I think the conversations, and this goes back to what I was saying initially when we were talking about the Cheryl Swoops comment, and I was saying let's let her get there, right? Like, all these people want her to be top 10. They want her to be the best point guard in the league off night one. Like, let's let her get there. Let's let her go through the growing pains, take those learning curves, and let's let her get there. So for me, what I've found to be interesting is when you're having these conversations with newer fans who are, whether they are new WNBA fans or whether they are here just for Caitlin, it's tough to have those conversations of like, yeah, like I know that Caitlin's doing that, and I appreciate it as a fan of women's basketball, but I also know that there are other guards in this league who, for one reason or another, might not be performing what we're accustomed to, but at their best, they're better than Caitlin Clark. And you just named three of them: Jackie Young, Kelsey Plum, Chelsea Gray. I think what we're running into right now is an issue where there are so many Caitlin Clark fans, because of the excitement, who really, really, really want her to be top 10. They really, really want her to be the best guard in the league, so they can come back and say to all of like the Cheryl Swoopses and the Dawn Staleys, I guess, even though, as you mentioned, Dawn Staley's been her biggest fan, it seems, almost. I mean, South Carolina won the Final Four game and then won the national championship game, and one of the first things she said after the Final Four was shout out to Caitlin Clark for what she's done for our game. So I don't know how anyone could say that Dawn Staley is a Caitlin Clark hater. If there's anyone that's clearly not, it would be Dawn Staley. But right. You know, I think there's a lot of Caitlin Clark fans who are so anxious to put her in those conversations who have also not been tapped in, that when you say, oh, Caitlin's not just definitively top 10, or oh, Caitlin's not definitively top 12, or oh, Caitlin Clark actually isn't better than this player or isn't better than that player, then it's all of a sudden, you know, you're hating and you're doing this and you're doing that. And so I just wanted to ask you that question because I know, you know, Caitlin Clark makes All-NBA team or All-WNBA team, which I'm sure she will with the way that she's playing. She certainly will. I'm pretty sure that'll ignite that conversation again of this is to all the people who said that Caitlin wasn't top 10. And I just want to say, you can be top 10 in a season and not be a top 10 player. Like Jalen Brunson averaged more points per game than Kevin Durant this season. No one in their right mind is going to tell you that Jalen Brunson's a better scorer than Kevin Durant.
Right.
No one's going to do that.
Correct.
So I think, and so that's why I asked you, when we say top 10, are we talking right now, this moment, or is it a combination of both? Because to me, two things can be true. Mm-hmm. You can be a top 10 player right now, but not if all players available, you're being picked in the top 10.
Yeah.
And I think that's the conversation we're having right now. If all players are available right now, I don't know if Caitlin's being picked top 10. But if you're asking me tonight on July 30th, is Caitlin Clark playing like a top 10 player? I would say she has an argument.
Yeah.
Or you know, to steal words from Dawn Staley, she'd be heavily considered in that top 10 conversation. I think that's where we're at. I think it's very nuanced. And I think
I agree.
To ignore that nuance is doing yourself as a fan a bit of a disservice, because you're not actually taking in consideration all the factors. So that's why when I saw that you agreed with me quickly about Caitlin being on the second team, I thought that that's a conversation worth kind of just opening up a bit to kind of get your thoughts on that. Because I know that that's something that she will be on one of these teams. And so I know that
again, right. But think about it. She literally takes the spot of a Chelsea Gray. Chelsea Gray would be on one of those teams. Right. We would put Chelsea, like the Chelsea Gray in pure healthy form, we would assume would be on a first team or second team as the guard, right? If Sabrina gets bumped up because how she's been the best, she's been the best guard this season. Yep. But Chelsea started hurt. And so, you know, so that's why I brought that up, because between Chelsea and Jackie, who I think have each in their own ways, you know, kind of taken a little step back and are coming back into form, opens the door for Caitlin to be in those conversations right now.
It does. And I think that there's a level of appreciation there that we should have. This is great, man. Great night to talk women's basketball. Oh, one thing that we didn't talk about in this week's women's basketball, and I wanted to just react to it super quickly, the new media rights deal for the WNBA. We're talking $2.2 billion with a B dollars over, I believe it's 11 years, so $200 million a year essentially. And I thought it was funny when Cheryl Miller was asked about an All-Star Weekend, she said 2 is good, but I prefer 8, which I thought was great. What was your initial reaction when you saw the news breaking of the new media rights deal for the WNBA?
Just more money, man. More. It's all happening. It's all happening. Like we've been telling, like I've been telling people, like we've been telling people. It's all happening, and it was the momentum, the wave was happening before Caitlin. Caitlin's been part of it, of course, and she's taken it to, you know, tsunami levels, of course, but there's even more coming, and that's why people are investing, and the numbers are growing financially, monetarily, crowds, all the numbers are growing. And so, yeah, it's no surprise, man. There's only going to be more coming because the like I keep trying to tell people, man, the talent is just this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. It's every week I'm seeing new evidence of new sightings of new developments that we are not prepared for and have yet seen in the women's basketball space. So I'm not surprised at all, and we're gonna keep seeing more.
As the good book says, eyes have not seen. Ears
have not heard.
Ears have not heard.
Right. That's right.
Man, sitting here just to think about like all the talent that we're gonna see over the next 11 years, bro. Like when it's time for a new one, we're hitting double digits, brother. We're gonna be we're talking about $10 billion.
11 years, bro.
Next 11 years, bro.
Decade.
Like the next 10 years of women's basketball talent, bro. That's
bro.
It's a lot of talent, man.
I'm telling you, in the next 10 months,
right?
Things are about to shake up once again. Again.
Absolutely. Well, look, it is always a pleasure, as always, of course, to talk women's basketball with Martin Sories. To all of you guys that tuned in throughout the course of the night live, to all of you guys that will tune in throughout the course of the week, months, whatever, we appreciate you guys. Please like, subscribe, drop a comment. Don't be afraid to join the conversation. We love interacting with you guys in real time as we're talking. Feel free to follow us on Instagram at @ProtectOurQueens_ for all short form content and also non-show related women's basketball content. And remember, we'll be right back here next week. No,
not next week. I'll be in Costa Rica.
That's right. Martin will be taking his basketball and his breathing down to Costa Rica. So we will not be back here next week. We'll be back here the week after that. So that'll be August 13th. We will be back. And the countdown to the 1-year episode officially will start, man. August 13th will be a month away from a year of Protect Our Queen. So it's crazy to think we've been doing this for almost 11 months now, brother. That's kind of crazy to think. So be on the lookout. Make sure you're following on Instagram as we're continuing to kind of get closer to that, so you can tap in with us and see what's going to be have in store for that show. Because as always, bro, women's basketball is a great thing. It's a great thing to talk about, and this is the place to be. So for my guy Martin Sories of the Protect Our Queens podcast, this is Marcus signing off. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, you guys go enjoy yourselves some women's basketball.